This rugged ridge front and rear tube door kit with the Eclipse Cover Kit is for those of you that have a 4-door 2007 to 2018 JK that are looking for a set of tube doors because you like the look, you like the functionality, and you want something that is going to come with these covers, again, just giving you a little bit of a different look. It's going to be a pretty easy 1 out of 3 wrenches for the installation. There's a little bit of assembly to do with these doors, but that's actually a good thing. I'm going to talk about that in just a second, but even so, very, very simple to get these installed, and we'll show you how to do it. So a set of tube doors is something that's going to give you a little bit of a different look and a little bit of a different feel to your Jeep. So these are cut almost like a half door would be, so they're going to be a little bit lower up front and in the back. They're going to give you a little bit more visibility when you're off-road. You can peek your head out a little bit easier, see the line of your front tire. They're going to give the Jeep a completely different look, a little bit more of that safari styling. Of course, they're going to give you that open air driving experience like you would get if you didn't have doors installed on your Jeep, but a little bit more security. So maybe if you have a pet in the back, of course, you're going to want to have them buckled in, but if you have a pet, if you have kids in the back, something like that, you want to give them a little bit more security, but still have that open air feel. This is going to be a great choice for you. I like this because it also comes with these mesh door skins, which give the Jeep a little bit more of a, I'll call it a finished look, while still having all of the other benefits of the tube door. So it's just one more layer on top that I personally really like the look of. Now, the mesh skins themselves, they're a high quality piece. They are mesh. They have all of these elastic bands that are built right into them to attach them onto the doors nice and firmly. Overall, they're a nice piece, not a whole lot to say about them, but what I do want to talk a little bit more about is the doors themselves, because again, these are going to be a door that have a couple features built into them that some of the other options on the market are not going to have. So the first thing I want to talk about is right up here. This is going to be your mirror mount. This is going to allow you to pull your factory mirror off your Jeep and pop it onto your tube door so you can stay legal, stay safe when you have the tube doors installed on your Jeep. Now, if you have a power mirror, of course, you're not going to have the power functionality with the mirror on this door. What I would probably recommend if you have a power mirror is to go purchase yourself a set of aftermarket non-power mirrors, put them on your tube doors, leave them on there. That's going to alleviate you having to switch the mirrors back and forth between your factory doors and your tube doors. And you don't have to worry about having that wiring flopping around while you're not using it. But overall, the point that I'm trying to make here is that this does have a bracket allowing you to easily mount a factory style mirror right onto the door. That is a big plus. One of the other things I really like is the latching mechanism on this door. A lot of the times the latching mechanism leaves a lot to be desired. This is a full paddle handle. On the inside, it's a little bit more of a metal pull. But overall, it's a latching mechanism that's going to lock right onto that factory striker pin. It's going to hold the door nice and securely. It's going to give you a nice feel when you go to open the door from the inside or the outside. It's a really solid contact, and overall, it's just a really nice latching mechanism. The other thing I like about them is that they are lockable. Now, some of you might be saying, why do I need locks on my tube doors? If somebody wants to get in, they're just going to climb over the door. If somebody wants to get something from my Jeep, they're just going to reach in and get it. Well, that's true. What these locks are for is actually to keep the doors themselves from walking away, because you can just open up a door if it's unlocked, lift it off the hinges, and stroll away with it. And if you're away from your Jeep for a while, that's not something you want to have in the back of your mind. So these being locking, you close them, you lock them. Somebody would have to first break the lock, then open the door, then remove it. Locks only keep out the honest people, but they are going to help keep your doors in place, especially when you're leaving your Jeep unattended for a little while. So I do like the fact that these are locking. A couple other things that I like about them, you can kind of see it right here. This is a built-in bump, and it does have a rubber bumper on it. So that's designed when you close the door, that bumper actually gets compressed a little bit. And what that does is keep the door in tension, so it's not just flopping around every time you hit a little bit of a bump or the wind blows a little bit. Tube doors are known for being a little bit rattly. These ones are going to help to alleviate that by having that bumper built into it, which is very, very nice. And then circling all the way back to where I started, these have a little bit of additional assembly to do over some of the other choices out there on the market. And what I'm talking about there is the fact that you have to install the hinge pins themselves onto the doors. As you can see, these are welded pieces on here, but there are no hinge pins. Those come separately and you bolt them in place. And why that's a benefit is that then you have a little bit of play there. You have a little bit of adjustability. Now, you might think, I don't want to have to adjust them. I just want to throw them on the Jeep. Well, when you get a set of doors that have the pins welded on, sometimes they're twisted a little bit, they're moved a little bit. You have to bend them, tweak them. Sometimes if they're that far out of whack, you can't fit them on the Jeep at all. You have to return them and get another set. And the fact that these ones are bolt-on means that, yeah, that first time you have to do a little bit of adjusting, a little bit of finagling, but once you tighten these down, you're done. You don't have to do that every time, and it's going to ensure that these doors are going to come out of the box, they're going to fit on your Jeep, and you can go and enjoy them and not have to worry about them not fitting. There's also a little bit of adjustment that has to happen in the latch mechanism. But again, that's something that you're going to be happy you had that adjustability, and you're going to be happy you did that, because these doors are going to close firmly and they're not going to rattle on you. So overall, I really like this setup. I like the doors, I like the skins, I really like everything about these, including the price tag on these. These are not crazy priced for what you're getting here. Some of the other tube doors out there that I don't think have the same quality, don't have the skins, don't have the locks, or don't have the paddle handles, maybe have the welded door pins that aren't my favorite, are gonna be right around the same price, right around the $700 price tag that these ones come in at. And I do think you're getting a lot more for this money than you are with some of the other ones out there. So overall, I think they're a pretty good buy. Again, I'm gonna stick with one out of the 3 wrenches here, even though there's a little bit of assembly and a little bit of adjustment to do. It's pretty straightforward. I'm gonna show you how to do it right now.
Tools required for this installation: 3/8 drive, 13mm socket, 13mm wrench. Optional is an impact. All right, guys, we have our tube door on the table here. There is a little bit of assembly we have to do. We have to put our hinges on these little mounts here. So the key is to have the hinge in this direction, orientation pointing down, just like that. So I'm gonna start a couple of these bolts and nuts. So I'm not gonna tighten these down all the way. I do want a little bit of movement when I get it on the Jeep, just to make sure everything's lined up. Lockdown on the Jeep. So that way we can move those hinges to where we need them. All right, now let's test fit this on the Jeep. Make sure your pins are lined up with your hinges. You don't want to scratch any paint. Then drop it in there. Close the door. Make sure it latches. That looks good there. Now we're going to tighten down this hardware that we left a little loose. Cool. Well, let's do the back. All right, so we have the rear door on the table now. And it's gonna be the same process of getting these hinges on. You kind of want your hinges going with the door this way. Now we are going to tighten up this hardware here, but not super tight, so we can get it on the Jeep and kind of shim it into place. All right, now let's test fit that on the Jeep. All right, let's close the door. Looks like it's locked. Let me get the keys. Unlock that. Open up the latch. All right, make sure that that latch is shut. And we can tighten down our hinges now. All right, now we're gonna install our Eclipse door covers. We'll start by opening it up and getting it into place here. I'm gonna start here on the corner. All we're doing is putting this elastic strap around that little football-looking piece. Now we're just gonna go down the door and put the rest on. All right, now let's get the back one on as well. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap up my install of these rugged ridge tubular type doors with Eclipse covers. For all things Jeep, keep it here at ExtremeTerrain.com.